What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to another video. We are at the Wisconsin State Championship here in Waterloo, Wisconsin, and I am off to a pretty terrible start. As you can see, as soon as the whistle was blown, I was basically moving backwards, had a little trouble getting clipped in, and I feel like if you've been watching these videos, you've probably seen my starts going like one of two ways. Either I have a great start, get clipped in right away, maybe come in like second wheel or even get the whole shot, or I have a start like this where I have a little bit of difficulty getting clipped in and sort of move straight backwards. And yeah, that's gonna have for me like an impact on my race for sure. Making it a little bit difficult on myself here, getting stuck behind a ton of traffic, and yeah, I think if anything, I need to find a better balance between having my pedals being like super tight and not being at risk of like coming unclipped at a moment where you don't want to unclip, and having them be loose enough that it's like easier to get into the pedals. So yeah, I think if anything, if I would have changed anything about my setup on this day, I would have like loosened up my pedals just a touch. If you've been playing around with those yourself, you may notice that like when they get wet, like in the early part of the season, for example, if I was like carrying a water bottle during races, I would sometimes just put water in there and use the water to cool myself down as the race went on. And I would definitely notice, like, if my pedals got wet, it would make it really easy to get in and out. And definitely not carrying a water bottle during this race, because it's pretty cool. Temperatures have cooled off. If you look at other riders, you can see that there are a lot of people still in shorts. But this is, for me, this was like right on the cusp of being a little bit uncomfortable wearing bib shorts, and some riders were going for like knee warmers or full-length legs. So as you'll see here, I'm sort of making my way through this back end of the field, but as this first lap goes on, my disastrous start is going to continue, and I'm going to have a little bit more bad luck. Before we get there, though, I can tell you that this course is super cool, super dynamic. It definitely is, you know, like one of the better courses that we have access to here in the Wisconsin Cyclocross Series. You know, Trek being who they are, they host like UCI events here every year, so they definitely have everything they need to make this like a world-class course here on site. And if you pay close attention here, this first set of barriers, the only set of barriers, this is where disaster strikes for like a second time on my opening lap. Get over the first one and just end up stepping over my handlebars, getting my rear wheel caught up on the second barrier. I'm also sort of caught up in the tape. I am getting my chain back put on my front chain ring. We've got Jamie McCall there giving me some encouragement. She is the winner of the overall, what am I doing? She's the winner of the overall series in the women's elite field. So pretty cool having her giving me some encouraging words. But yeah, I think I am currently now sitting in like last place, going through my mind. If you have watched any of the other videos, there's like the front of the race over there on the left. If you've watched other of my videos, you know that what I'm trying to tell myself in this situation is basically don't panic. There's still a lot of race left, but yeah, pretty disastrous start. Got another rider up here on the left struggling with their own chain mechanical type issues. And as you'll see, as we get up to the top here, we're going to pass another rider walking their way up the hill. This rider in front of me is a local to me rider named Devin Hatch, super strong dude. So yeah, as we continue on in this first lap, we will see how, if, when exactly I'm able to sort of work my way through the rest of this field. Is my day over before it has even begun? This is still in the first lap, of course, so plenty of time left to try and make up some ground here, but definitely have my work cut out for me, and all of the fast guys are up there at the front of this race. So I'm going to let you check out the rest of this first lap, and then we will check back and try and find some of the most important, let's say, like critical moments throughout the race. So you'll see this rider up here on the left, advancing his position. That's basically what I should be doing too at this point. Not sure, watching back on this video, trying to make my way up here on the left, but kind of getting squeezed out there by a Danny F. But yeah, I'm not sure watching this video if I'm just like paying for some earlier efforts. My heart rate is about what it typically is in races like this. We got a Scott Dalbert there making his way on the inside. Scott is in the Masters 35 plus field, and I also want to give a big shout out to Scott. He did one of the nicest things ever during this Wisconsin Cyclocross Series, which was to give me a sweet pair of those zippable warm-up pants that you will often see cyclocross riders using as they warm up. So Scott, if you're out there listening, thank you so much. Super generous dude and a super strong rider. Scott is the current, is it 35 plus, Masters national champion. So in a lot of these races you may have seen him out there in the Stars and Stripes jersey. Pretty cool. But for me, what that means in this race at this moment is that we are getting caught by the very front of the Masters field that started a little bit behind us. So again, tons of work to do here still, and still trying to make our way up through this field. We are coming into the finish of this first lap though, so there is a sort of paved start-finish area, and if I remember correctly, I will use that part of the course like every lap to try and just put down as much power as I can. So here we go. So yeah, slowly but surely making our way past a couple more riders, catching up to an Owen Reich here at the beginning of the second lap of this race. Still got one of those riders behind me, as you can see in the shadows there. But yeah, still having kind of a tough time advancing my way through this field as fast as I would like to. But yeah, we've got an Owen Reich, and I think that in front of Owen is Dylan Ogle. Really stoked to see Dylan out doing this race. Another really strong rider. I see Dylan doing a lot of the summertime, like group rides, training rides that I'm out on, and a lot of the sort of local crits, so like Tour of America's Dairyland and all of that stuff. But haven't seen Dylan as much at these cross races, but he is holding his own. And we work our way through this back end of the course past the secret bar. If you've ever been to one of the UCI races here at Trek, this little area off to the left is usually filled with beer drinkers cheering us on, heckling us during the races, having a great time. They usually bring a DJ out to that area. And yeah, coming up here on this little rocky ledge, you had to really stay on the power just to keep your momentum in that section, I noticed, partly due to the course conditions. But after that ledge was an opportunity to stay on the gas if you had the legs. So we're trying to do that, getting past Dylan here, staying with Owen as we continue to work our way through this field. And you may or may not have been able to hear a Jacob Graham there in the background telling me It's not that far. So he's trying to give me some encouragement to yeah, continue working my way back up through this field to try and get back to the front of the race. So we are coming in right here to this like famous log section. If you remember a few years back, the last time they had a World Cup on this course, was it 2 years ago? Thibaut Nice was the only rider that I remember seeing in that like men's elite field that was able to hop those logs smoothly. But that trick is now out of the bag. We had riders in this men's elite field that were hopping over the logs. I am not one of those people. I was basically having to run those logs every lap, and based on the course conditions, we have a little bit of like greasy mud out here. Gonna hop these barriers again, tempting fate. But every lap when I would dismount on that section, it would seem like my feet and my bike were heavier than the lap before. So yeah, now we're starting to make some real progress here, getting past riders into the meaty part of this second lap. But yeah, the front of the race is still off to the left there, clearly visible, like at least one section ahead of us. You know, depending on how long this section takes, I'd say maybe like 15 to 20 seconds off the pace of the leaders, maybe more. But yeah, we're going to do our best here to continue making up ground, to continue getting around these riders. And yeah, 180 beats per minute, sitting at like 700 watts up that little punchy climb. I am not taking it easy. Still not trying to panic here, but putting everything I've got into it to try and continue making up ground. I didn't actually catch the name of this rider in front of me, but I was hanging out with him before the race, and he was super nice. He let me use his little portable pressure washer to take the mud off of my tires after doing some warm-up laps. And I'm pretty sure this guy is visiting this race here in Wisconsin from Minnesota in order to try and get some USA Cycling, you know, like ranking points, because he has ambitions of going out to the national championship race, which is just a couple weeks away in Louisville, Kentucky. And yeah, he was telling me that like in the Minnesota races, they are not maybe USA Cycling sanctioned events or something like that, and so you don't get any points from participating in those races, and as a result, you maybe have a terrible starting position on the grid because they, I think, use those ranking points not from a website like crossresults.com, but instead from the USA Cycling version of those points. So a little bit of nuance to those races, those national championships races in the US, and how that whole points-based like ranking system works. But flyover number one, this is lap number 2. Still working our way through the field, going past the sort of like fire pit vibe zone cheeseburger jump. I think if you were the best rider to jump off of the cheeseburger, you stand to win like some meat from Englewood Farms. I can tell you with confidence I did not jump the cheeseburger a single time in this race. I was just trying to make up ground as much as I could. Maybe I should have jumped the cheeseburger. Could have won some Englewood Farms beef. But I digress. We are coming back into this final little turny section before the start-finish. And let's see if I'm able, we got a few riders up in front of us here. Let's see if I'm able to get back in front of this group in that finishing pavement stretch of road. So as you can see here, I'm just kind of staying seated, trying to spin the legs, not doing any crazy watts, but getting around one additional rider here. We still have that Minnesota rider whose name escapes me right now up in front. He is putting on the pace as I am at this moment. But yeah, not making up a ton of ground, just kind of trying to pick off riders as we come through after 2 laps in this race. So I brought us back to this ledge. We got this rider in front of me having to hop off and run that little section, which makes it hard to get back on and get back up to speed. So this is one of the reasons why, in my opinion, it's always an advantage to be able to hop the barriers. It's not necessarily faster like on the barriers themselves, but it is faster immediately after the barriers when you are hopping back on and clipping back in. So getting around one more rider there just as a result of being able to hop over that ledge. And we got our next target in sight here. And yeah, we're coming back to this little log section, I think. Yeah, the T-Bone Nice hop over log section, which is a Michael Lambert run up logs section. But yeah, doing our best to continue on here, trying to make our way through this field. I don't even know what position I'm in right now, but I'm definitely not anywhere close to the front of the race. And we'll see if I'm able to at some point get around this next rider. So case in point, here we are at the barriers, hopping over them, getting around this next rider as he remounts. And so yeah, these past 2 riders, that was basically the method for advancing position, is just to use those little technical features and be able to stay on the bike in the pedals. Got a Chad Cannon off to the left there. Spoiler alert, Chad ends up in 3rd place on the podium at the state championship in the state of Wisconsin. Chad had a great race on this day and a great season overall. I think he ends up in 2nd in the overall series competition, which I was able to win. Pretty stoked on that. That was basically determined before this state championship race took place, which I didn't know. I actually thought coming in that this race would be factored into that overall series points competition, but it was, again, just the races that led up to this throughout the season. So yeah, state championship is essentially like the grand finale of the Wisconsin Cyclocross Series. And yeah, still haven't figured out how to crack the code on this race. I've never had great results here at the state championship race. I am the current road race state champ. Love that course in New Glarus, Wisconsin. Pretty hilly and right up my alley. If you watch these videos from way back then, you would know that like road racing is my strong suit. That's kind of like my main focus, and I do cyclocross races in the fall, kind of in my off season or leading into my off season. And yeah, so I'm gonna jump ahead, way ahead, and take you to the last lap, and we'll see how this race finishes out. So I actually lied. I'm not going to take you to the very end of the race. Instead, I'm going to show you this little moment here with a junior rider whose first name is Finn. So we are ahead a little ways. I chopped out maybe, I don't know, 10 or 15 minutes of racing to get to this point. But as you'll see here, I'm going to eventually make my way around Finn. I think it's on this next little section, this flyover. And Finn does an excellent job of just basically staying glued onto my wheel. So shout out to Finn. Dude has a bright future ahead of him, no doubt. I'm not sure how old Finn is, but he's doing men's elite races, which is already a huge accomplishment. And so super strong, a young rider. So yeah, we're about to make this corner, kind of greasy. There's a berm or a sort of like rut that's getting formed in this. So earlier this week, before this race, there was a bunch of rain and actually some snow. So that kind of changed the soil conditions. I'm going to use this flyover to try and get around Finn. Giving him a little encouragement there. Deciding not to hop the cheeseburger. And we're going to continue on. And I'm pretty sure that Finn stays on my wheel from this moment on this course all the way to that rock ledge. So go, Finn. So here we are coming back into this rock ledge. That was a huge chunk of time, like half a lap or so, several minutes of racing. And you can hear those spectators in the background encouraging Finn to stick with it, but he must have had some issue in that corner. So another one bites the dust, as they say. But yeah, we're going to continue on here. I'll take you to the very end of this last lap, as previously promised. You can see how this race finishes up. There we have it. We're getting the bell on this final lap. If you're paying attention to the watts down there in the bottom left-hand corner, you can see that I'm putting a bit more into that finishing stretch, standing up out of the pedals. Race situation at this moment is that I'm sitting in 6th place. I got a couple of riders out in front of me that I can just see off in the distance, and I've got a Matt Riley in hot pursuit. So that's basically the way that things are going to ultimately finish out. I've got a Matt Riley hot on my heels and a couple of riders that are just out of reach up ahead of me. I think it's a Luke Johnson and Corey Stelgis combo. They're going to do battle all the way to the end. But yeah, not super stoked with the way that this race went, of course, trying to win my first state championship in cyclocross here in the state of Wisconsin. But that's the way that racing goes. Wasn't super disappointed. Obviously, I was super happy to take the series overall for a 3rd year running. So that means that I'll be able to have a sweet jersey from the title sponsor of the series, which is Trek Bikes. I'll also get to wear that coveted #1 on my back next season. So, thank you for everyone for hanging out this year in these cyclocross races. Got a ton of new subscribers, made a ton of new content, making comments on these videos like I am doing now. And yeah, stay tuned. I had one request over on Instagram from someone who wanted me to make a sort of like tutorial or how-to video in terms of how to hop the barriers in cyclocross races. So I'm thinking about trying to make a video like that. And before too long, I will be posting more video content from my winter training camp out in the state of Arizona. So stay tuned. As always, thank you for watching. And we'll see you on the next one.